Yeah.
I guess that's first name. It's not Brianna.
Brina.
Brina?
Brina Pittman. B-R-E-N-N-A.
Okay. I can see the letters.
Well, I'm guessing it's pronunciation.
Anybody know Brina Pittman? I don't.
Everybody pay attention to the announcements up top.
Announcements?
Yeah, right.
Well, we get them again in church, so.
Yeah, but you don't look at them either
don't
place.
look at
So
We hear it. We don't have to read.
Listen, well, there you go. That impresses me that you even knew.
that you even knew it, because most people.
Pay attention, Alan States.
I don't.
I do. Alan Bill. Alan Bill.
That's my name.
Isn't
Don't
that a-
wear
isn't that a
that.
road?
Don't wear that.
Isn't that a road?
Alan Bill.
I went to the Valero to get a Coke. They have good Coke. And there's a guy that stopped there. His name was Dale. And I thought I never was going to get to come home. He finally said, "What's your name?" I said, "Alan." He goes, and his name was Dale. I said, "Alan." He goes, "Alan, Alan." I said, "Hey, just remember my last name." He goes, "What's your last name?" Remember my second name. He goes, "What's your second name?" I said, "Dale." He goes, "Well, that's funny." He said, "There's a street named that. You're famous." And we're like, "I don't know about that."
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. Let's see. Hold on a minute.
I'm gonna have to get me a big cowbell.
That won't work.
If I ring it loud enough, it will.
So here we. Hey, hello.
Hello.
Prayer. I'm not asking yet. Prayer request. I've not heard anything about Donnie lately.
He's
But-
doing, he's doing okay.
All right.
He has 4.5 weeks to go.
Treatments.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Larry, you're meeting with your doctor soon, or already met with him?
Well, I got doctors, so I'm going to see one on Wednesday, my pulmonary doctor,
Okay.
to see him. And just FYI, I'm feeling really positive about all of this.
Okay.
And I'm very, very thankful for all the prayers, because I know that the more prayers, the greater, in my feeling, the greater the power is.
Yep.
And I pray for God to take this from me, to heal me. And also, I joined the gym. I don't exercise. I've never exercised.
What did you do?
I work.
What did you do? Are you going to the gym to work, or you exercise?
No, I'm going to the gym to try to help build back up my core and build up my lungs.
You're a better man than I am.
Well, I got to do what I got to do, you know.
I'll walk.
And then my wife's with Dewey at Deerleaf's.
Oh, she is.
Well, you know, he's not here, he's at the Deerleaf's, so my wife's not here, so I guess she's with Dewey.
Okay. I'm gonna move right along, Larry.
I think that's good.
Keep moving along. Les, how about the surgery on the arm?
I still gotta go see the orthopedic, and I'll see him on the 7th.
Okay.
She's in New Braunfels
Okay. That's close.
with the grandkids.
If Dearly's, that's close.
Les,
Never know.
Les in the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Les, when do you go to the doctor?
He didn't say.
The 7th.
Yeah, go on the 7th.
The 7th.
See, I listen.
I can't hear.
Can't hear because of all the other chatter.
Well, I can hear both.
I had to turn my hearing aid.
Well, you're lucky. Bethany's dad, knee surgery.
He came through the knee, it was to remove the infection. He's doing as well as can be expected.
How old is he?
70.
72, 73.
That's not old.
No, that's just right up, yeah. Good age.
Couple more years, he'll be real old.
No, no. I'm thinking right now, real old is 80. I'm being positive about it.
Sam said real love's 90.
90? Okay. I don't think I'll see it. How's Andy doing? Your grandson?
No, his son.
He's-
Okay.
That's where Karen is. Karen's up there with Andy
Okay.
and you know, the family, and it's all good because it's just one of those things where God's in control, and I'm so happy that my wife is able to get to Andy on that level.
Panic attacks are like real.
They are real.
I did not know about all that stuff till I had that heart attack, and then we thought he was having a heart attack, and so I went to the emergency room to check on him, and he was in a room, and when I hit the door, the base of the door, that room went to this, and I'm going like, and man, it was like I thought I was having a heart attack again, and it was worse than the real one. Donna Johnson, she's doing okay? They're okay?
It's a process.
Okay. Angie's not here. Betty, your daughter and son, we're going to keep praying, right? I barely can't see you. Betty. I said your daughter and son, we're going to keep praying, right?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
All right. Did you give William the day off? I didn't. Billy. You didn't give Billy. He ate too much Mexican.
He must have ate too much last night. He ate my portion.
I didn't see him last night.
I
He
didn't
wasn't
either.
there.
He wasn't there.
I just wanted to give you FYI.
He was just standing out there by the truck eating.
He wasn't there.
Well, he probably ate too much Mexican food Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Les wants to pray for us.
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for another day of life, Lord. Lord, thank you for allowing us to be in your house, Lord, to hear your word, Lord. Lord, I lift up all the ones that have been mentioned to you, Lord. Put your healing touch upon them, Lord. Lord, if there's some lost soul out there today, let him be touched, don't let him walk away. Watch over us, lead, guide, and direct us, Lord. Precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Yes, sir.
Eddie's going home tomorrow. Shirley's got real mixed feelings on it because he's still has the feeding tube because he's not eating enough to sustain him. But
That's your brother-in-law.
they're wanting to release him, so he still needs prayer because he's got a lot of memory issues. He can't
So-
remember.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah, it's my brother-in-law.
Gary's brother or your
Shirley is Gary's sister,
sister? Gotcha.
and it's her husband.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. So we're in Galatians. Did I say? Yeah,
Again.
Galatians.
Again.
6, 1 through 10. I looked, believe it or not, I remembered how to find the questions this time. And I thought about, hey, you know what? Can I just be honest with y'all? I've read that. Now, any way I say this is not going to sound good. I've studied this those verses and read them and studied them a lot. I guess because they apply to me. But I've also taught them a lot too. So it's hard not to go back. Danny, Alan, anybody else? Is it fair that if you always relate back to certain, when you read something or if I invoke the Holy Spirit right now, it's going to be fair. But it's hard not to use verses that you've used all your life, especially when something you read. I was like, boy, that verse, and that verse, and that verse, that makes sense.
Popped in your head for a reason.
I mean, yeah. And I'm thinking like, golly, I just seem like I keep repeating myself. But I guess when you do this for a while, it's going to happen. But I did read one of the questions. I guess we better read the question. You want to read?
Yeah.
Good.
Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, Ye which are spiritual, restore such as one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden.
Stop right there. I wouldn't break those up the way they did. I would look at, I'd read all the first 5 like you did, and then 6 through 10. There's, okay, a couple things before I get to yakking too much. So the very first question, I looked at all of them, that was the best one, or to me it was. So based on what Brad just read, what would you, you're going to have to think about this. What do you appreciate about the different generations? And I don't know how long, what is a generation? Is that, how many years is that?
I don't know. Some people say 60.
Yeah.
It's a new generation, they say, every 20 years. But if you, in my thinking, I'll just go along with the way they divide the generations, you know, the great generation, the silent generation, you know, and so on and so on. And as we go along, there's less to appreciate, I think. So what I would say, when I read the question, what I appreciate the most about each generation is the exact same thing, is the strong ones, the ones who have firm beliefs, the ones who stick with their beliefs. And in the particular case, of course, is the belief in God, in Jesus Christ, and in the Bible, and their principles and their morals. And they're getting to be fewer and fewer with each generation, but yet it's the same thing. And it's up to them to uphold those things, and it gets harder and harder with each generation.
There need a good word for us users. We got to hope there's going to be a remnant of that generation.
Yeah.
So what generation are we? I don't. Are we the baby boomers?
Baby
Yeah,
boomers.
We're baby boomers. So I don't know if I'm a baby boomer, and then I don't know what that would make my dad. And I don't know, and
Either
He would have
the
been part of the greatest generation.
I would,
great or the silent.
and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I just kind of skip over him and go straight to my grandfather. So the way you described that generation, we were talking about it in the Bible study last Wednesday before. My grandfather was what you described. He knew what he believed. He might have had a 6th grade education, maybe, but he had a conviction, and he believed that conviction, and he stood for it. He never wavered, not one bit, not even one little bit. And the funny part of that right there is, because we talk about today how we get stuck in traditional things like church stuff. You know, back in his day, you weren't fixing to wear a pair of shorts to town. It wouldn't happen. Boy or girl, it didn't matter. If they lived out in the country, and if I wanted to go to town, he'd go to town and get groceries, not every Saturday, but about every other Saturday. And I was running around in shorts out there because it was hot. It was okay. But if I was going to town, you better put some long pants on, brother, because you wasn't going. You weren't going to go. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. But that's the kind of thing. But the key thing is, his foundation was built on that book right there, and the Lord. That was the traditions and the things that got built into it. That was one thing. But the fact was, he was built on that word. He was built on what God's plan was, and he did not waver from that. When that asked that question, I'm thinking of kind of sort of that away, Danny, and I'm wondering. I see nothing that convinces me that the further that where are we at now? We're past Gen Z, right? And are we in another generation?
I can't remember.
No, X is before.
There's some new one, and I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it's Gen Z is like is it's the second to the most recent.
Yeah, well, the Gen Z is what the teenagers are now. The next one is what the little kids.
Okay,
that are
okay.
The ones being born late.
No, millennials is way before that.
Yeah, we're way
Gen
past.
Z was next to the last, I
We
don't know what they're
we're way
calling
past
it.
millennials.
We're just the last.
So again, I'm not sure about the baby boomers. I mean, because and I guess we're all. I don't think. I just say I'm the oldest one in here at 72. I may not be, but I'm just going to say it for sake of argument. I'm not seeing. It's a mix. I think I still see some stuff out there. Okay, this is my only go-to because it's me. All right, this is my own. I see some of what I think, but what I do see with my grandkids is they don't necessarily agree with everything I do because we're old, but their foundation's firm. I still see with all of my grandkids, do they mess up? Yes, they do. Absolutely, they do. But their foundation is firm. They were kind of at the very end of this. The reception last night, I didn't stay to the very end. I stayed there long enough to hear some of it. So a bunch of the Allen's peers stood up and began to tell him and Mallory what they either appreciated about him. Most of the stuff Mallory they appreciated. The rest of them they just messed with Allen the whole time. And he just stood there. He didn't say nothing. Sat there and said a thing. But his older brother was the last one to get up. And if y'all don't know Dawson, he's just different. Okay. He's different. I mean, that boy can talk. And I asked him, I can't remember what it is. I said, what do you do with all that knowledge? He goes, well, really nothing, just a handful of bunch of knowledge up there that's not worth anything. I'm like, you're right. I don't say it to him out loud. But last night he looked at his brother and said, and this is him. This is his really way of, he was joking, but he made a point. He said, Alan, you just need to remember one thing about what's said in your household and who's right and who's wrong. And he said, the one that's right is Jesus. Just listen to him. And I'm going like, boy. And I thought, you know what? That's a good answer. Because if he'd have said, Mal needs to listen to everything you tell her to do, we'd all been in trouble. And I mean, I'd have got on him. But the bottom line is with my kids, I see a foundation that's right. So all their faults, they've all just make sure y'all all know, all the faults that my grandkids have and my daughters have, they got it all from me. Okay, that's all they got from me. Because I look at them and act just like I did.
Well, fault is what? What's something we all share? Okay, but what is sin?
Doing things against God.
Okay, it's a burden.
There you go.
It's a burden. Burden is the one thing.
That's where the real me is.
Yeah. Burden is the one thing that we all share. Every one of us has some kind of a burden of some sort. I don't care who you are, what you do, where you came from. We all share that. And those verses we just read, there was two different meanings in there.
There you go.
One of them says, if
bury
I
you
see
one another
you, if
burden.
I see you fall, I'm supposed to correct you with what? All meekness. Because if I pound on you with a baseball bat, are you going to listen? No, you're going to try to run away. So, with all meekness. But then there's a verse further down that says, every man shall bear his own burden. Well, you just said that we're supposed to help. There's some burdens that you can share with other people. Our faults, our tensions, our griefs are all things that you can share with somebody. But there's also burdens you can't share with anybody, like death. You can't share that.
I think it says overtaken with a burden, and I want to share that. It's sometimes we don't just see somebody do something wrong. It's when a person their life is overtaken with sin. They're living and they're stuck in that sin. And this is talking to Christians, helping Christians.
Right.
We see a brother or sister, and we go to them to help them share their burden. And we share their burden through Christian love. And we go to them with the right spirit. And when it talks about this, we share our own burden. We do. We carry the weight of our own burden, each and every one of us. But part of our burden, part of the burden that we are all given, is to love one another and to share hard times that others have. We go to them and help, because sometimes part of our mission is to go to someone who's hurting, and we share with them, because that will help relieve the burden that they have, ease that burden, ease that tension. I think it also goes into other things where it's financial. We see not just sin, but other burdens. We go to them to aid them. Sometimes people think we go to the church and the church helps us out. Well, sometimes we can do that on our own. We don't need to, we can keep them from having to go to the church. If we're able to go to a brother or sister and we see that they're having an issue, we talk to them, we find out what their problem is, and maybe we can help them without them having to go public with their need or their issue or their burden. And that saves them some more heartache. There's things that we can do if we keep our eyes open. But I'm just talking that. I don't want to get too deep into it, because we can share that burden with one another, and that's our burden that we are given, that Christ gives to us.
Well, but that's burdens you can share. That's talking about two different burdens here. Those are all burdens you can share, but there's burdens you can't share. You can't share death. You can't share the Bema Seat judgment.
So one of the things I was thinking when you said that, okay, the way I took it, because that's the thing that caught my eye that I've not heard before. So one of the key things about bearing somebody else's burden, and to me, I'm gonna, because I've seen this kind of stuff before, so I'm gonna have a couple questions. Melissa, I'm gonna probably throw a question at you in just a minute. One of the things that I don't see sometimes that we do such a great job in, it depends on what it is, okay? So when there's a word in there that's used in one of those sentences that says something about restore each other, such as one. We should help bear each other's burden. The burdens are different types of burdens. When you see a fellow Christian, and if you've been in prayer group, anyway, when you see a fellow Christian, someone that's taken a deep fall into something they shouldn't be doing, okay? But you know his heart, you know their heart, all right? It's our responsibility as Christians to go to them in meekness, humbleness, not going like, are you kidding me right now? I wouldn't do that if I had to, but you did it. What is that? We're judging.
That's pride.
We're judging. So it's easy. It's easy to go to them. The other part of it is, it's not a matter of just going and helping. They need to be restored. And when in that restoration that we have, so way back in Harvey or whatever it was, we had and y'all all know this, we had a church down the street, lost the roof, lost everything. Leaks everywhere. It was horrible. Okay? They did not have the finances to put that roof on. We did. And we did. We didn't just help them. We didn't want anybody to know about it. Y'all knew about it. We didn't want any stories about it, nothing. We just went and helped them. We helped them restore the building that they met in. It's the same way with people in their life. They need restoration. What's hard about it is taking the responsibility and doing it. That's hard. The next one is the burden that you're talking about. There's no one. What is that? Here we go again. What's that verse that we hear all the time? Pick up your cross and follow me. We all have a burden. We all have a burden. Danny cannot help me with my salvation. He cannot help me. He can help me, instruct me. But it's up to me. What does Paul say? It's up to me to work out my salvation. You don't work for your salvation, but once you're saved, we should be working to keep it and moving down the road. What happens? And I was going to ask Melissa, because Melissa served doing a lot of things. If she can't relate to what I'm fixing to say, I'm going to give her a cape and put a big S on her chest and call her Superwoman. Okay, Superwoman. Have you ever? I have experienced fatigue in ministry. Has anybody else ever done it? What do you feel like? Do you feel like giving up?
Quitting, yep.
You feel like quitting? Do we need to do that? No. That's in my mind, that's the burden. Do we walk in the Spirit every single solitary day, 24/7? I don't. If y'all think I do, I don't. I do not. I do not. Are we striving to do that? Is it easy?
No.
It's not. It's not easy. And
One thing that we have in our favor is we know who to go to restore us. We know who to go to give us our strength and our peace. That's why as Christians, when you see a fellow burden, all you can do is give them a word of encouragement and stuff. But we can't take that burden away from them. We can just help them. But as Christians, we have, I don't know how to say it.
Well, there's some
I don't
burdens.
know how to say it without saying it
Yeah,
wrong.
there's some burdens that you just have to lay at the cross. Sin, your sin, my sin. My sin is a burden I can't carry and deal with on my own. It just has to be laid at the cross. But there's a lot of burdens, like Alan's saying, there's a lot of burdens if I see you fall. And fall don't mean a fall from grace.
no.
Fall means you stumble. If I see you stumbling, as a Christian, as a believer, it's my duty to try to assist you with that, whether it's just help you through it, whether it's just to relate to an experience I had that is equivalent to what you're going through, or whatever it is. It's my responsibility as a believer to do that. Yeah, there's some burdens I can't help anybody with. There's some burdens that we just all have to face on our own. There's some burdens you got to lay at the cross. But those burdens that we can help with, we're charged with doing that.
But it's funny, but I find that even though you might recognize in someone that there's something there and you'd like to help, but I feel Christians are the worst about coming forward or asking you to help. You know, that's what Alan was saying about meekness. It's so important how you approach a person that you want to try to help, because their first instinct is to pull back. You know, especially if it's something they're ashamed of. You know, so I mean, it's.
Well, that's the secret of the meekness part.
I don't even know if the meekness is a good word.
It's
A lot of people like that, Lynn, you think, well, they're being prideful. No, I don't think so.
I'd
It's
like
just,
to read this scripture.
go ahead.
Ephesians 4.
Mm-hmm.
I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation to which you're called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. Wherefore he saith, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men.
So one of the things we all get weary. Sometimes when we approach people, if they're standoffish, I don't think it's pride. It's just might be in their mind just the fear of overloading. You know, somebody, hey, I don't want to dump this on you. You got all you can handle anyway. One of the things when I say you have all that you can handle, again, all I'm going to do, all I'm doing is like Paul said. If there's anything to glory in, you glory and you brag on Him. Okay. Sometimes we need to look at what we have here in this church because it's unique. We have a lot of men, a lot of women, a lot of people for the size of congregation we have. I think we're averaging around 260, maybe 270 on a Sunday morning now. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's nothing to see 100 or so people show up to do heavy duty, long work, consuming a lot of time. That's almost half or 40% of the congregation. That's kind of unique, okay? Our tithing is above normal in most churches. That's unique. What's unique, even better than all of that, is we have each other. There is a group in this church, or groups in this church, that stand ready to help you at any time, at any place, to do that. There's not a lot of people out there that have that. There's not. I mean, there's not a lot of times, but there's been a few times, 3 times that I can tell you about. That one time we went in, a group of men, and went and prayed for a pastor that had been a pastor for 50-something years. Okay? None of the guys are in the room. Mark might have been there. I can't. It's been a while. When we got through praying for him, a pastor, 50 years of service, still pastoring, with a real vital sickness, cancer type thing going on, and we prayed for him. And he said he had never, in his entire ministry, had ever had that happen. A group of men come around him and pray for him. A pastor.
One of the examples that was in one of the commentaries I read last night was similar to that, and he was talking about this pastor that his burdens just got so bad he got drunk one night, just teetotaling, out of crazy drunk, just couldn't bear it anymore. He went to the deacons. This actually happened. It was talking about this pastor. He went to the deacons of the church and turned in his resignation. He said, this is what I did. He confessed what he did to them. I can't in good conscience stand in the pulpit and preach to you over something like that. But what they did, they didn't let him resign.
My goodness.
They didn't beat him with a baseball bat. They didn't hold it over his head. In all meekness, they sat down with him. They prayed for him, just what you said, and kept him where he was. Everybody in the congregation said the very next sermon that man preached lit them all on fire. He was just absolutely on fire. That's the power of going to somebody and helping them and not beat them up with it.
That's called restoration.
Yeah, that's a restoration right there. That man was in the lowest place he's probably been in his life, and it could have very easily went even deeper had they not handled it the way they did.
Let's read the rest of the verses. Verse 6, let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, he shall also reap. For he that soweth in his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. That soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap his everlasting. I don't think I read that right. That corruption that they're talking about like decay of death. Okay. I don't know how long ago I highlighted these verses, okay? Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in a due season we shall reap, if we faint not. We have therefore the opportunity to let us to do good unto all men, especially unto them who are at the household
Of faith.
of faith. So a couple of things. To me, the verse 9 relates to what Brad was talking about a minute ago. It says, don't get weary in well doing. We're going to get tired. That's, for all that I'm worth, when I studied the temptations of Christ in the Gospels, when he finally spun around and told the devil, get thee behind me, and the devil left him, immediately the angels ministered to him. You know why? He was tired. That human body was tired. And they ministered to him. We're going to get tired. But you got to keep doing the things that we're supposed to be doing.
When you get tired, and I see it, what's on it for me to do?
Pick him up and help him.
Yeah.
Hold his arms up to lift, hold his staff, keep it up.
Or encouragement.
Encouragement.
Yeah.
Every now and then your teacher needs encouragement.
Yeah, Larry?
Not
One of the
teacher,
things
preacher.
that I try to focus on is I don't try to give a hand up, but I do it with God's guidance and direction.
Yeah, it's here. You're supposed to help somebody through their burdens, but there's a way to do it. And then with His guidance, with His direction, in meekness, caring, loving, not using it as a stick to hold over them or lord over them with it. It's just supposed to be helping that person get back to where they want to be. And you may not be able to do it all, but you have a part.
And it may not be immediate, it may take years.
Could be.
It just may take years.
Yeah.
But so often you work and you work and you work and you don't see anything and you say, what's the point? And we, as Christians, forget we've already won.
Yeah, the battle's won.
We are supposed to do the work we're given to do. We've done one and we keep forgetting that we've won.
Yeah, the battle is constant. The battle's always going to be there, but the battle has already been won.
You got to. If you just look at this book, at the Bible, and just. I don't know how to tell it. I can probably tell it to y'all a lot easier. If you just look at like some pieces of the Bible, then you got like Ron says, you really need to study it all so you can get the context of what's being said. We're going to get tired. We're going to get weary. We should not get weary of doing good, but we're going to get tired. Okay? It's just those saying. How long did it take God to create this earth?
6 days.
What'd you say back?
6 days.
6 days. What did He do on the seventh one?
Rest.
Was He tired?
Yeah.
No, He wasn't tired.
God don't get
He
tired.
don't get tired.
He was setting an example for
He was
us.
saying He may have, Becky. Yes, He did as Jesus. He did.
Yes.
He did. But the example was set. Oh, well, that means I've got to go to church. Well, you ought to go to church. But it also means to take a break.
Well, that's why the disciples sheltered Jesus in so many areas, because He was so physically tired. He needed to go pray. He needed to rest. And they gave Him that barrier against the people, so He had the opportunity to go and be by Himself and renew His strength and His faith. I mean, not His faith, but His, strength.
I don't care who you are. If you wear human flesh, you're going to get tired. You're going to get weary. It's just going to. It's one of those things. It's just there, and there's nothing the only thing you can do about it is somehow find a way to rest.
Becky's not old, but she's been doing this for a long time. So, I know y'all aren't going to appreciate this too much, especially if you don't care anything about golf. Okay? There's one thing about golf. You have to have some skill, but the hardest thing about golf is mental. Okay? And the best golfer in the world right now is playing. And because he's so good, the captain won't rest him. And he is defeated mentally. His game's shot. I mean, it's, if you saw him, he was missing putts this long. Becky made a comment. Sometimes you have to shield that man. And that's what she said. And you think about it in the garden, he had 12, well, by the time when he went to the garden, he had 12 men. Some of them stayed, some of them went a little further. But there wasn't about 3 of them that went a little further. And they didn't go all the way either. But I guarantee you there was a layer there, okay? And not that the God part of him needed it, but the human part of it needed it.
Right.
And y'all can attest to this. If you got a bunch of kids and grandkids, that can wear on you mentally. And you may not be physically doing anything, but by the time the mental part's over with, you're whooped. Can anybody relate? Can anybody relate? I guarantee you the moms and grandmoms and the great-grandmoms can flat relate. And then we get to hear it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said that with such gusto.
Facts are facts.
You got anything else to add?
No, just the whole thing is there's things that you need help with. There's things that you're just going to have to go through. And when you get to the ones that you just got to go through, where do you lay them?
Danny said it.
At the foot of the cross.
Yeah, but he said it earlier. You're just going to have to go through them because, what'd you say? The battle's already been won. We're just going through this thing called life.
Going through the sanctification process.
Sanctification process. I like that. Les, why don't you close us?
Once again, Lord, thank you once again for letting us hear your word, Lord. Lord, just continue to lift up this group, Lord. We love this group. Just touch the ones that